Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this convocation for the November special elections of the UP Law Student Government for the academic year 2025 to 2026. I am Iko Urbano and I'll be your host for this evening. The special elections will be held to fill up the vacancies for the following positions: one third-year batch representative and one Iloilo evening representative. Before we begin, let me explain the convocation rules. So for this convocation, the candidates will be given 1 minute and 30 seconds each to present their opening spiels. Afterwards, there will be a question and answer portion specific to the candidates based on the advanced questions submitted by the electorate prior to the event, answerable for 1 minute. After which, the commission will open the floor for live question and answer with each question answerable for 1 minute. In the end, each candidate will be given 1 minute each for their closing spiels. For our audience, you may submit your questions for the live question and answer portion through the comment section in our YouTube live stream or by chatting our moderator, Vice Chair Glory Montenegro, via Zoom. So just find her here on Zoom and you can chat them directly. At this point in time, we will now call on the candidates for their opening spiels. Again, the candidates each have 1 minute and 30 seconds to present their opening spiels. Let's now first call on our candidate for Iloilo Evening Representative, Anne Jenica Paulino. So candidate Paulino, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds for your opening spiel.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Angelica Paulino, running to be your Iloilo evening representative. My goal is simple. It is to make evening students feel seen, supported, and heard. I admit that as a first-year student only, I'm not exposed to bigger problems faced by other Iloilo evening representatives. So I took the initiative to ask each evening block representatives for their concerns and suggestions before I passed the letter of intent and collated all of it to create my platform. I'll work on improving the coordination with administration, so class schedules and face-to-face classes are communicated early, especially for working students. I also push for more evening exclusive activities and build connection, rest, and community. From socials to the upcoming evening week, which I heard is planned now. And lastly, I want to strengthen our presentation by establishing a clear line of communication between Iloilo and Diliman so our concerns don't get behind. Evening students are extraordinary. We balance work, life, and law school. It's time we have representation that reflects that. I'm Anne, and I'm here to lead with unwavering commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Paulino. Now let's call on our next candidate running for third-year batch representative, Clem Erica Arcilla.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Clem Erica Arcilla. You can call me Clem, and I'm running for the position of third-year batch representative. I have three platforms because I'm a third year. So these platforms allow us to navigate third year more easily. These are Career Compass, Transparency and Accountability Report, and the Law Board. Career Compass is for students who are still quite unsure as the field of law that they want to participate in. To give them more certainty, I propose two activities. The first one is the career paths plenary, and then the second one is the roundtable discussion on career paths. My second platform is the Transparency and Accountability Report to include students in the conversations with the LSG as to the grievances raised to me. So this will include the status of the grievances and the course of action of both the LSG and the admin if the admin is involved. And then the third one is the law board. This allows students to have a more systematic way of accessing information. So this would include a consolidated schedule, a directory, and a resource tool. Again, my name is Clem Erica Arcilla, and you can call me Clem. Let's all Clem it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidate Arcilla, and also candidate Paulino for introducing yourself to the electorate. And now that we have heard from all of our candidates, let's give them a chance to address the questions submitted by the UP law community. So to repeat the mechanics, each candidate to whom a question is addressed is given 1 minute. So 1 minute this time to answer the question. When the question is directed to all candidates, we will follow the order of the spiels. So that means candidate Paulino will go first and then to be followed by candidate Arcelia. So we begin at this point with the questions from the online question form. And our first question is addressed to both candidates. So to both candidates, what are the current issues that third year students and Iloilo evening students face, and how do you plan to resolve these? So let's begin with candidate Paulino. So candidate Paulino, you have 1 minute to answer the question.
Thank you for that question. Currently, I have a blockmate that is having trouble with her enrollment still, despite us being in the midterms already. And as actually the block representative, I coordinated it directly with the current only representative of Iloilo, which is Noreen, and and then coordinated with OCS and stuff like that. So if I were to be the Iloilo evening student, currently right now I am already putting myself in the position where I help out my fellow student. And if I have the opportunity, a better authority to actually step up, and I feel like I can do more if I'm the position. So to like be able to resolve it myself, and I will like took care of it more and put more attention to it in order to be resolved efficiently.
Thank you, candidate Paulino. Now let's hear from candidate for 3BR, Arcelia. You have 1 minute
Right.
to answer the
Thank you
question.
so much. Thank you so much, Icon. So one of the main concerns which was raised to me by the members of the batch that I've asked in creating the platform is really the lack of efficiency and a lack of systematic way of dealing with, let's say, makeup classes, scheduling conflicts with makeup classes and exams. That's why I decided to put in my platform of law board or a law dashboard. This would allow students, especially people like me, to more easily organize how makeup classes would work and to how better to coordinate with the students and pupils from each block. That's why if I was given a chance to become a third year batch representative, I would ensure that this concern would be easily resolved because I plan to do the law board and make it more accessible by the start of second semester, the beginning of the second semester. So I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you to both of our candidates. And now we move on to our next question addressed to our third year batch representative. So our third year batch representative candidate. So you could have ran during the 2025 general elections and the 2025 special elections. So why did you only run now? So again, this is addressed to candidate for 3BR, Arcelia. You have 1 minute to answer the question.
All right. Thank you so much for that question that was actually raised to me in my room during discussion yesterday. I could have run in the general elections, but I did not because I had a very difficult time during my first and second year. I had very difficult professors and difficult scheduling, and I really needed time to adapt. I really needed time to be flexible. With regards to the first special elections, I also was still struggling at the beginning of it. But then, my struggles would allow me to more easily, let's say, accept this opportunity now because now I'm more capable of performing this. And I think it could be understood that there are very difficult professors, but then we work around them. And one of the ways for me to work around professors and also to become more adaptable is to actually participate also in other means, such as being a part of the LSG. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia. Now let's move on to our next question addressed to both candidates. So assuming that you will be elected in the respective positions you're vying for, what will be the first thing that you do? So again, assuming that you will be elected in the respective positions you're vying for, what will be the first thing that you will do? So let's start once again with candidate Paulino. Candidate Paulino, you have 1 minute to answer the question.
Hello, thank you. The first thing that I will do is, of course, to step up with the upcoming organization things that we're going to have here in Iloilo, the upcoming face to face, and there's like a small pagtitipon that we're gonna have. So currently, I already volunteered for some roles to that to that activity. So if I were to be elected, I will finally step. I'll be able to step up in the role and actually have the authority to handle everything rather than just listening to what other seniors are saying. But now I can finally say the voices and echo the voices of my first year students in the field where we're like freshies. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, candidate Paulino. Now let's move on to candidate Arcelia
All
with the
right.
same question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that question. Okay. One of my platforms and the highest in priority for me is focusing on destinations. And I think the reason why is because the one of the main platforms of the third year students would be more interested in destinations because of the fact that not a lot of us are still quite sure as to the possible fields of thought that we want to participate in. So for me, I would prioritize the startup and the preparations with destinations, especially since I know the destinations already in the works. And I've actually talked to the current batch representative about this already and addressed my platforms to him. So he made sure and he told me that my platform is feasible and that we can work the platform in the destinations itself. So maybe I would firstly address the destinations because that's the big project that we have. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia. Now, let's move on to our next question. Yeah, so this is our next question. One of the main duties of the third year batch representatives is to assist in the organization of the UP Lost Annual Career Fair destinations. So, how do you plan to contribute to this project if you win? Okay, so candidate Arcelia, you have 1 minute to answer this question.
All right, thank you so much. So again, my first platform is Career Compass. That's why I wanted to integrate it in destinations. And Career Compass is a way for us to be more sure about the career paths that we will be having, essentially. That's why I propose two activities. The first one is Career Paths Plenary, which will be happening hopefully at the beginning of destinations. And this will introduce us to the different fields of law. And then the second one would be the roundtable discussion on career paths, which would be after destinations. In this case, the presumption would be that you are already interested in maybe 2 to 3 fields of law and you'd want to know more about them, right? So you can put in questions with more intent and ask law experts on what do they do on a day-to-day basis, essentially. So that's my career compass platform, and that's what I integrate in destinations. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia. For our next question, this one is addressed to our Iloilo Evening Representative candidate. So the Iloilo Evening Representative position has been vacant for a while. Hence, the Iloilo Day Representative has handled the work for both the day and evening Iloilo students. If you win, what can you do to ease the workload of the Iloilo Day Representative and better integrate yourself with the sitting LSG officer? So candidate Paulino, you have 1 minute to answer this question.
Thank you for this question. If I were to win, I would first implement more activities for evening classes, because that's one of the, as I mentioned earlier, I asked the other block representatives and they were also suggesting that they hope that they have more evening exclusive activities. And I think that's something that would be really helpful for everyone, as it would remove part of their stress of being working and then in law school. It's a wellness activity that can help them with to to have fun, to like to see law school as something that's not just hard, it's not just codals and stuff like that, but it is also something that can build a community within the evening classes.
Okay, your time is up, candidate Paulino. Thank you for answering that question. Now we move on to our next question. So for our next question, medyo chill muna tayo. So sinabi ng kaibigan mo, mas bagay daw sa iyo ang naka-rebond. Anong gagawin mo? A. Magpa-rebond. B. Sasabihin ko, wag siyang makialam kasi buhok ko to. C. Magpapakulot pa, lalo para mabwisit siya. Or D. Jaya. Let's start with, okay, baka you need time to think about that. So, ulitin ko lang yung question. Kung sinabi ng kaibigan mo mas bagay daw sa'yo ang naka-rebond, anong gagawin mo? A. Magpapa-rebond. B. Sabihin ko sa'yo, wag siyang makialam kasi buhok ko to. C. Magpapakulot pa, lalo para mabwisit siya. Or D. Jaya. Let's start with candidate Paulino. You have 1 minute to answer. 1 minute to answer the question.
Thank you for this. Actually, as a natural curly hair myself, I've had ribbons, a couple of ribbons in my whole life. So, and then like some people were saying, why did you stop having your hair rebonded? First of all, sasabihin ko na wala siyang pakialam kasi buhok ko to. It's very expensive to have your hair rebonded. So unless if you're going to pay for it, go for it.
Ayan, di ba tama? So sorry, um, clarification for these type of questions, it will be 30 seconds. So sorry for that confusion. So let's move on to candidate Arcelia.
All right, so my choice would be the same with candidate Calvino. Sasabihin ko, wag siyang makialam kasi buhok ko to. I also have naturally curly hair. And if my friend thinks that my hair is better rebonded, then okay, that's her opinion. But I think my hair is better curly. So that's it. I think I would keep my hair curly. Thank you.
Thank you to both of our candidates for answering that question. And now for our next question. So this is addressed to our candidate for Iloilo Evening Representative. As a first-year law student running to be a representative of all year levels in the Iloilo Evening program, how will you ensure the representation of each year level while balancing your academics and work? So candidate Paulino, you have 1 minute to answer that question.
Thank you for this question. This is actually so sorry for my dog's background. This is the first problem that came into my mind before I sent my letter of intention, is that how can I like address the other year levels, especially I'm a freshie, I'm like a baby right now. But like when I told them that I am planning to run, the other block reps from other year levels openly supported me, which I really appreciated. And then they said to go for it and that they will support me from the background. And then I told them that as long as you guys will be open to give me criticisms of the things that you want me to do, I will go for it. And that's all I need from them, support. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Paulino. And now, this next question is addressed to both candidates. If you had to choose only one of your proposed projects to implement during your term, what would it be and why? Again, if you had to choose only one of your proposed projects to implement during your term, what would it be and why? So let's begin with candidate Paulina.
My proposed project that I will implement, that I only implement, will be a trivia for every weekend for everyone. As I'm working right now with Australian clients, and we're kind of having this weekly trivia, and it is very fun to implement. It's a good it's a good way to bond with other people, especially I work from home, and then most of us in Iloilo are currently in online classes, so it's a great way to create a bonding moment with every students.
Thank you, candidate Paulino. And now for our next question addressed to our third-year batch representative candidate. So one of your platforms includes allowing students to participate in a roundtable discussion with lawyers during Destinations Week. How will you ensure that this plan will actualize, considering...
Continue po. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, considering the participation... okay nga pala, sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry for my mistake. So we still have the last question addressed to both candidates. Okay, we're sorry for that mishap. Okay, so candidate Arcelia, you have 1 minute to answer this question.
Right. Thank you so much. Yes, the only platform that I will be pursuing if I only had to choose one between the three platforms would be Career Compass, because I think it's what I can call as a landmark activity for third year students. And I know personally the struggles of my co-third years who are still unsure as to feel the flow, essentially, if they want to pursue litigation or they want to pursue non-government work. So I wanted to be a part of destinations in a way that can make it more career oriented. That's why I wanted to create career compass. So this would allow students to be introduced to different fields of law. It would allow them to take a better informed position on which, let's say, law firm or which government agency they want to intern in, or which part of law or they want to practice in the future. And I think that's very important for us as because we are already third years. So I think it's career compass. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, candidate Arcelia. And now again to in our next question, which again for everyone else, again, is one of your platforms includes allowing students to participate in a roundtable discussion with lawyers during Destinations Week. So how will you ensure that this plan will actualize, considering the participation in the roundtable discussion will be on first come, first served basis? So now let's start. Let's candidate Arcelia, you have 1 minute to answer the question.
All right, so it will happen in this way. There would be fill out forms which will be open at this during the process or during the destinations week, essentially. So you would have to fill out in these forms. So there would be different forms for different types of, let's say, oh, there would be one form only rather, and you would have to point your interests. So maybe you would have 2 to 3 interests. Maybe it's a government or academy. So put that, and then it will be open for third years for the first week of the destinations, and then the next week, if the slots are not filled out, then I will open it to different batches as well. But essentially, this will prioritize third years, and as much as possible, this will be open to third years. But I would also like to open it up to other batches if the slots are not filled out. If the slots are filled out, then this will be only to the third years. But there will be essentially a sign up form that will happen during destinations. So that will guide me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia. And now for our next question, addressed to our Iloilo Evening representative candidate. So you have not yet publicized your platforms before this convocation. What are your plans for the Iloilo Evening students, and how will you ensure that they are well informed of these plans? Again, you have not yet publicized your platforms before this convocation. What are your plans for the Iloilo Evening students, and how will you ensure they are well informed of these plans? Candidate Paulino, you have 1 minute to answer this question.
As I mentioned earlier, my platforms will be mainly, if elected, I'll work on improving the coordination with the administration. So class schedules, classroom allocations, and intensive classes are communicated early, especially for the working students. And I will also push for more evening exclusive activities that build connections, rest, and community. Lastly, I want to strengthen our representation by establishing a clearer line of communication between Iloilo and Diliman, so our concerns don't get left behind. I may not have been able to publicize at those platforms immediately because I am not feeling well as of the moment, and we just finished our midterms, but I've been in touch with everyone through group chats, and they can attest that I've been active despite not being in the position yet.
Okay, thank you, candidate Paulino. Now for our next question addressed to both candidates. So what do you want to improve about the LSG, and how will you do it? So for this question, let's switch up the order a bit just to freshen it up. So let's start with candidate Arcelia. Okay, candidate Arcelia, you have 1 minute to answer this question.
All right, thank you so much. So, what I want to improve with the LSG is the transparency of the discussions with the admin. That's why I included it in my platform, which is named Transparency and Accountability Report. So, I wanted to make myself also more accountable to third year batch students by requiring myself to publish a transparency and accountability report that they can rely upon to determine the issues which were raised to me, which are not related to their personal concerns, but which relate to the batch or the student body in general. So this would allow them to actually participate in the negotiations by knowing the step-by-step process and knowing what is actually happening with these grievances which were raised to me. So that's how I wanted to improve the project or the transparency by doing this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia. Now let's hear from candidate Paulino.
As a first year student, I haven't encountered much problems with LSG before, but if I were to suggest an improvement, I would love to strengthen coordination channels by proposing consultations between Iloilo representative and the main LSG officers if it's not available yet. These meetings can be like obviously done virtually because we're not in the Liman, and uh, to ensure updates and concerns initiative flow both ways from Diliman to Iloilo and Iloilo to Diliman. I also want to improve transparency and student engagement. That means by pushing for consistent reporting on LSJ projects and creating open feedback platforms where evening students, especially evening students, can share their concerns and suggestions directly. Ultimately, my goal is to make LSG more connected, transparent, and truly representative, a government that doesn't just decide for students but decides with them. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Paulino. And for our next question. Okay, Freaky Friday. So if you can exchange bodies for one day with a celebrity, who will it be and why? Perfect na perfect for Halloween. So again, if you can exchange bodies for one day with a celebrity, who will it be and why? Sa inyo na siguro how you define a celebrity. We will know more about you based on how you answer this question. Let's start with candidate Paulino. Yeah, 30 seconds to answer this question.
If I could exchange bodies with a celebrity, I would choose Taylor Swift, Life of the Showgirl, not just because I admire her talent, but because how she uses her platform. She's smart, strategic, and fearless in standing up for herself and others. Taylor's ability to turn her personal experiences into art of songwriting resonates with millions, reminds me of leadership is not about just about story. It's also about storytelling and connecting with people.
Okay, time is up. Thank you, candidate Paulino. Now let's hear from candidate Arcelia.
Okay, so if I were, I would exchange bodies with America Ferrera, mainly because I wanted to say to the convocation team that Sir Dan Get told me that I look like America Ferrera, and maybe we look quite similar, and I just wanted to experience her life, and I wanted to be an actress as well, you know. So I see her in Barbie, and I thought to myself, okay, so I look similar to her, but then she's on the big screen. Maybe I want to try that. So yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia, and to candidate Paulina for answering that question. Let's move on to our next question addressed to both candidates. So, describe how you are as a member and as a leader in an organization. Again, describe how you are as a member and as a leader in an organization. Let's start with candidate Paulino. You have 1 minute to answer this question.
Hello, as a member, I am cooperative, dependable, and proactive. I also make sure to contribute meaningfully, listen to others' ideas, and do my part without needing to be reminded. I highly value collaboration because I believe that every successful team starts with members who genuinely care, share goals. And as a leader, I believe I am empathetic, organized, and action driven. I like to listen first before making decisions, and I make sure that everyone feels included and heard. I believe that leading by example, like showing up, staying accountable, and work with my team, not above them. Whether as a member or a leader, I aim to create an environment built on respect, communication, and trust where everyone can grow, contribute, and feel that they matter. Thank you.
Okay, now let's hear from candidate Arcelia for the same question.
All right. So if I were a member, of course, I would listen to the leader and collaborate with my co-members in the group. If I were a member, I hope to contribute and I wanted to contribute my opinions. And if they ask me about my opinions, I would glad to share them. Sorry. If I were a leader, I would lead with empathy and genuineness. I think I am an action-based leader, so I am committed to doing the things that I needed to do 199%. So I wanted to make sure that I can help by also taking into consideration the opinions of my members. But I really lead with genuineness and with compassion. So thank you.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia. And this next question is addressed to both candidates. So let's switch up the order again. So let's start with candidate Arcelia for this one. What field of law do you see yourself practicing in the future? How do you intend to serve the public through this? Again, what field of law do you see yourself practicing in the future, and how do you intend to serve the public through this? So, candidate
All right.
Arcelia, you have 1 minute.
Thank you so much. So I'm still quite unsure as to this, but I'm thinking that I would be a part of litigation, the litigation team, and I'm very interested in serving people through uh, human rights, essentially, political rights. So I want to incorporate that by giving pro bono cases and maybe even becoming a part of PAL. So I see myself as someone who uh, defends others, especially those who have less in life. So more or less, I would be opening myself up to pro bono cases because I think I just have a lot of empathy, and uh, that's how I see myself. So maybe in litigation and maybe in PAL, maybe serving by giving pro bono cases. So still quite sure, not sure, but that's what I see myself in the future. Thank you.
Okay, now let's hear from candidate Paulino.
In the future, I see myself practicing the field of corporate law as I'm coming from Bachelor of Science in Accountancy. I've always been fascinated by how business operates and how laws, finance, and ethics intersect to build sustainable enterprises. So through corporate law, I want to help create a culture of accountability and transparency in business, ensuring that companies don't just thrive financially, but also act responsibly towards their employees, consumers, and communities. Survey I'll be serving the public through this field means promoting integrity and fairness in the corporate world, helping businesses comply while with the law while upholding social responsibility. In that way, I can bridge my accounting foundation and legal training to contribute to a fairer, more ethical business environment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidate Paulino. Now for our next question addressed to both candidates. So let's start with candidate Arcelia again for this question. So UP Law has produced both excellent and infamous lawyers. How do you think we can ensure that the UP Law students will continue to uphold the values of the college even after they graduate? Candidate Arcelia, you have 1 minute to answer the question.
Okay, so I think it starts with a good foundational basis, and this should start with the institution that we have in UP College of Law. How do we build and how do we increase empathy towards for the law students in general? So how do we make them more socially aware? It should start with us here at Malcolm Hall and the UP College of Law in general. So we can partner as part of the LSG if I were to be elected. We can partner with non-academic boards such as NUPL. We can participate in educational discussions. We can um, essentially allow the students that we have right now to gain more empathy, gain more social awareness so that they would not forget the problems and the issues that we have. And this can be done during my term and during the stay in the TT College of Law. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia. Now let's hear from candidate Paulino.
I believe that UP Law has produced both excellent and infamous lawyers because not just because of brilliance alone. What truly defines a UP law is through integrity, compassion, and sense of responsibility to the people. And to ensure that UP law students continue to uphold college values after the graduation, we must start to strengthen our ethical foundation while we are still at law school. That means by encouraging spaces that we talk not just about winning cases, but about practicing law with conscience and accountability. The student government can help by supporting mentorship programs or ethic focused discussions, So we are constantly reminded that law is not just a career, but a public trust. When we nurture integrity and empathy early on, we produce not only competent lawyers, but also principled ones, the kind who serve justice and not just success. Thank you.
Thank you to both of our candidates for answering that question. Our next question is addressed to our 3BR candidate, Arcelia. You're currently a member of NUPL and LDMU. On top of your studies, being part of these organizations will require your time. So, should you be elected, how will you balance your responsibilities in the LSG, your organizations, and your academics? You have 1 minute to answer this question.
All right, thank you so much. So again, this is one of the things that I thought of before I passed my letter of intent. But now I know that I don't in the I believe in the saying that I can't take more than what I can chew. That's why I'm a member. Even if I am an active member, I'm only a member to these organizations. And yes, I am focused on my studies as well. But as I said a while ago, I've decided and I think I've gained the capability to adapt well to it. And the thing with me is that I I enjoy serving. I enjoy serving in general. So when I was doing my campaign materials, when I was doing my platform research and the feasibility of it, I really thought to myself, okay, this is something that I can do. This is something that I wanted to do. So I can organize my time well because I think of myself as someone who is organized. And again, I'm only a member to these organizations. I will put LSG and academics on top of it. Thank you so much. And that's my answer.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia. Now let's move on to our next question addressed to both candidates. So again, reminder, you have 30 seconds to answer these kinds of questions. Kung ikaw si Aljur Abrenica, anong kanta ang sunod mong i-cover at bakit? Again, kung ikaw si Aljur Abrenica, anong kanta ang sunod mong i-cover at bakit? Let's start with candidate Paulino. Candidate Paulino, you have 30 seconds to answer this question.
I think I will cover Taylor Swift song called Life of Ophelia, mainly because it's one thing that's been stuck in my head, and same with Wishlist. For the moment, it's really something that resonates what I am feeling at of the moment. That's why.
Thank you, candidate Paulino. Let's hear from candidate Arcelia.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's a very difficult question because I don't know much of the lore about Algebra Brenica. So, okay, I'll just decide based on what I want to cover. The only thing that I can think of is, kunin mo na ang lahat sa akin. Wag lang si Coco Martin. You know that song with Coco Martin. So maybe that's what I want to cover. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you to both of our candidates. Hopefully, you can watch some Algebra Brenica covers after this. But next, our next question is addressed to both candidates. Recently, concerns on the UP students' welfare and use of the campus were raised in relation to its general use by the public. One of the specific issues include the increase in the number of people jogging around the academic oval and how this have affected key events of the university, such as the UPCAT. What is your stance on this, and how do you think student interest and the public's access to the campus can be balanced? Let's start with candidate Paulino for this question. Candidate Paulino, you have 1 minute for this question.
As long as it's if it is serving the students, then we should take actions regarding that and implement like a limited time restrictions where people can are allowed to jog around the oval. But if it's some that if it's harmless to everyone, then it should be allowed as it's a public space for and should be free to be accessed by everyone. But once again, if it's something that is disturbing the students, then it should be refrained from. It should have a time slot where other people are allowed to jog around the oval.
Thank you, candidate Paulino. Now let's hear from candidate Arcelia for this question.
Thank you so much. So I'd like to start with the premise that I have to lead with the students' rights in mind. So I know that there is a right to education, and there should also be a concomitant right to use the campus spaces. And as long as the campus spaces are being used by students should be the priority. I know that the campus is open to the public as well, and I recognize that. However, if this is to a point that it's going to affect the studies and core events of the campus, maybe the UP and the UP College of Law as well, I think we should put priority into the use of the spaces for students by the students. So the students should be able to use the space as well before we even consider, let's say, the use of the public. I know that the public can use it, but we have to put priority on students first. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you to both of our candidates for answering that question. And this next question is addressed to both candidates as well. Let's start this one with candidate Arcelia. The question is, what are your plans on addressing the recent rise of influenza-like cases and symptoms in UP Law? Again, what are your plans on addressing the recent rise of influenza-like cases and symptoms in UP Law? You may start.
All right. So thank you so much for that question. Um, my plans on addressing the recent rise is to help lobby more with the administration to negotiate on online classes. I know the concerns of some of the professors might be the inefficiency or not as efficient classes when it's online. But again, we have to prioritize the students' health. And I can do this by, sorry for that, but by getting grievances from the batch on how many people are affected and then putting forward this data so that the admin will be notified that, hey, this many people are already affected by it. And I know that Zoom may not be preferable, but it's better than putting the risk of health of students. So I would negotiate and help lobby the concerns of my batch by doing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia. Now let's hear from candidate Paulino.
Hello. Health should always come first, as especially in a demanding environment like law school. As someone who's been sick with flu for over a week now, I personally felt how difficult it is to balance recovery with academic responsibility, especially with our midterms, and made me realize how important it is for the institution to have a flexible and compassionate policies when students fall ill. If given a chance to serve, I plan to work on administration and local student government to strengthen health protocols if that's possible, such as establishing clear guidelines for excused absence during illness, ensuring access to hybrid or makeup class options, and improving coordination for health and advisories within the community. I recall one of my blockmates asking me, like, can't you just take special exam? And I replied that I don't know if that's even possible. And at the end of the day, law school is already tough enough, and no one should have to choose between their health and their education.
Your time is up. Thank you for answering that question as well, candidate Paulino. Our next question is also addressed to both candidates. So let's start with candidate Paulino for this one. So recently, the USC chairperson was subpoenaed in relation to their participation in the September 21 protest. Many UP law students also joined the said march. Should you be elected, how do you plan to protect the students' rights to protest in these mobilizations? So, candidate Paulina, you have 1 minute to answer this question.
Hello. As we know that the students have the right to be able to say their suggestions and their thoughts to the community, especially us UP law students, we are expected to be able to stand our ground in times of 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 what's happening right now in the government. And in order I want to promote awareness of our rights as UP law students through like forums or info drives or even online infographics, because knowing your rights is the first step in defending them. And I believe that protecting students' rights is not just about reacting to violations, but also creating an environment where respect, transparency, and accountability part of everyday practice.
Thank you, candidate Paulina. Now let's hear from candidate Arcelia.
All right. So I plan to protect the students' rights to protest in these mobilizations by first informing them and educating them about their rights, and second, by partnering with the National Union of People's Lawyers in UP to assist them if there are any other cases such as this. I know that we have the right to protest. It's a constitutional right that we have. So we have to ensure that these students and all of these people are able to protect themselves in these types of situations. How do you do that? By giving them educational discussions, partnering with non-academic organizations that would help us educate these students as to their rights. Sorry to that noise. And also by giving them a legal assistance to support them in cases such as this. And we should not be afraid. We should not be afraid if we protest because we know that we are doing the right thing and we have this goal. So we should always do our best to help by protesting and doing it in other means. And we have to be protected. Thank you.
Thank you to our candidates. So before we move on to our next question, we'd like to remind the audience. After this, we will have the live question and answer. So as early as now, if you have questions that you want to ask to either or both of our candidates, you can send your questions through the comment section of our YouTube live stream or by chatting our moderator, Vice Chair Glory Montenegro here on Zoom. So once the commission approves these questions, we will be asking them to the candidates. Okay, so now let's move on to our next question addressed to both candidates. So this afternoon, the USC invited students to sign a petition in relation to having a wellness break from November 3 to November 7. Among those contained in it is the demand to cancel all synchronous and asynchronous classes on the aforementioned dates. What is your opinion on this? And do you think the university should revert to having wellness breaks again? So let's start with candidate Paulino for this question. So you have 1 minute to answer this question.
As I'm from Iloilo, we're actually having our face-to-face classes on November 3 to 7. I don't think it's possible for us to have a wellness break on that. It's not covered under our campus. But yeah, I do believe that we deserve a wellness break once in a while, as so we can have opportunity to relax and and set back ourselves with this with the pressure that we're currently facing in law school.
Thank you, candidate Paulino. Now let's hear from candidate Ursilia.
All right. So thank you so much. I've actually seen this signing of the petition, and I think my opinion on this is that people of students deserve a break. Students deserve a break. I know we're already struggling. Not this wellness break is for our mental health. There are many different types of diseases out there, and one of them is mental health. Yes. And as a law student, we deal often with uh, different things. I myself deal with a lot of anxiety, and I think we deserve this break because, as we can see, we only have 4 days more or less of break right now, and this is not even considered a break. And requiring the university to give us a break is one of the rights that we have. I think it's one of the concomitant rights that we have in our right to education. We also have the right to take a break because that in that way we can also perform better if we are well rested. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidate Arcelia, for answering that question. And that officially ends our questions from our prepared questions. And at this point, again, and reminding everyone, the audience who are still or are here with us through YouTube and here on Zoom, that at this point we will be having our live question and answer portion. So this is where any audience member can ask questions to our candidates. So again, you can send your questions through the comment section of our YouTube live stream or by chatting our moderator, Vice Chair Glory Montenegro here in Zoom. So once the commission approves these questions, we shall ask these questions here in the stream. So at this point in time, while we're waiting for questions, we can take a quick breather for our candidates to compose themselves, maybe drink some water first while we're waiting for our questions, and maybe while our audience member of course is thinking of any questions that they might want to ask to our audience. So far, yeah, so far we are still waiting for any for questions addressed to any candidates. Yes. Okay. So far throughout this program, we have had a good chance to really get to know our candidates through their opening spiels and through the prepared questions. And now, really, if you're an audience member and you want to know more, either on a specific project or something just on the top of your mind that you want to ask to your candidates, you can you can ask them right now. So yeah, so to our audience members here in Zoom, yeah, and if you have any questions, you can address them to to VC Montenegro. Just send a chat to them para we can screen the question and ask them accordingly. Okay. So again, just a quick reminder to everyone while we're still waiting for questions. Of course, we will be having the campaign period. It will end rather on November 4, and the campaign ban will be on November 5. So make sure at 12 a.m. So all electronic campaign materials must be inaccessible or taken down by 12 a.m., while physical campaign materials must be taken down by 12 p.m. And for all of the UP Law students watching this live stream, the election proper will be on November 6 and November 7. We will provide more information as to how voters will be voting for this election cycle. So you can visit our official Facebook page for more details. So again, this is a really good chance for everyone. Though we've had so far just a great time learning more about the plans of our candidates for third year batch rep, Arcelia, and candidate for Iloilo Evening Representative Paulino. And of course, um, if you are given the chance to lead, we look forward to seeing the actualization of your projects. And at this point in time, just double checking, triple checking from our audience if there are still any questions that you want to ask. A reminder that of course once this live Q&A question round ends, there will be no more opportunity for the audience to ask questions to the candidates. So if there are no more questions, so going once, going twice, going thrice. Okay, so I believe we have no questions for our Q&A. Just waiting, just double checking for confirmation, but I believe we have no more questions for our Q&A. And yes, that officially concludes our live question and answer round. So thank you to our candidates and to all of our audience members, of course, for participating, for taking the time to listen to our candidates. And at this point, we will now be having the closing spiels of our LSG candidates. Now, to close the event, the LSG candidates will be given an opportunity for their closing spiel, for which they each have 1 minute to deliver. Again, you have 1 minute to deliver your closing spiel. So let's begin with our candidate for Iloilo Evening Representative, Anne Jenica Paulino. You have 1 minute for your closing spiel.
Hello, everyone. At the end of the day, this campaign is not just about winning a seat, it's about making sure that every evening students feel seen, supported, and represented. We may come from different blocks, backgrounds, or even different cities, but we share the same drive to chase our dreams, no matter how late it gets. I'm Angelica Paulino, and I'm running to be your evening representative, not because I have all the answers, but because I am willing to listen, learn, and lead with empathy and action. Together, we can build a stronger and more connected evening community, one that strives not just in the classroom but beyond it. So, these elections, I hope that you choose commitment, compassion, and change. Choose a leader who's always andito para sa'yo. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Paulino. And now for their closing spiel, let's hear from candidate for third year batch representative, candidate Clem Erica Arcilia.
All right, so thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, third year. And my name is Clem, Erica Arcilia, but you can call me Clem. I'd like to thank you all for participating in today's conversation. It really shows how interested you are in my platforms and my background. And my goal is for us all to claim it, essentially to claim it, to claim our future for us to graduate and become great lawyers someday. So I hope these platforms will help us claim it. Again, my platforms are Career Compass, Transparency and Accountability Report, and Law Board. These platforms are just the initial step. We are still open for suggestions, and I am willing and ready to hear your suggestions on how we can make them better. Again, my name is Glenn Erica Arcilia. You can call me Glenn, and that's all. Glenn it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to both of our candidates for giving their closing spiels. And that is it for our convocation to formally close the event. Let's hear from the chairperson of the UP Law Electoral Commission, Alex Daniel Guerrero, to give the closing remarks.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you for first of all, thank you for attending the convocation despite today being a holiday. The Commission greatly appreciates all of you dedicating your time to better know the candidates, test their commitments and opinions on important issues, and also their stances on student concerns. Thank you to Thank you also to our candidates for clarifying and sharing their programs and thoughts with integrity and conviction. Your participation in this convocation is truly important in promoting voter education, which is one of the values of the Commission ever since it has been established. And finally, thank you to my commissioners and to our host, Ico Urbano, for conducting a smooth convocation tonight. You all did well from the very start of our preparations until tonight's execution. So once again, thank you everyone and have a blessed and restful long weekend.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair, for giving those closing remarks. So, to everyone, if you're not able to catch the start of the program, this convocation is available on our YouTube channel. For our candidates, please take note again that the campaign period will end on November 4, Tuesday, and the campaign ban will start on November 5, that's a Wednesday at 12 a.m. All electronic campaign materials must be inaccessible or taken down by 12 a.m., while physical campaign materials must be taken down by 12 p.m. For everybody, the election proper will be on November 6 to 7, 2025, and the commission will provide more information as to how the voters can cast their vote. So just kindly visit the UP Elecom official Facebook page from time to time for more updates. So with that, we end our convocation for the November special elections for the academic year 2025-2026. This has been your host, Ico Urbano, and thank you to all of our candidates, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. So good evening to everyone.
Good evening. Thank you,